these aren't the only 5 by any means, right? Happy 5 Fact Friday. 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lambden, and it is 5 Fact Friday. No slurp this morning. I had a complaint, another one, from a misophonia sufferer. We'll get into that another time. Good morning. It's Friday, the 16th of January, or already more than halfway through January. I'm Charlie Lambden. This is Moving Here with Charlie, and this is my weekly 5 Fact Friday, where I report to you the 5 most significant newly reported items of news from the last 7 days. In my opinion, they're the most significant ones. They aren't the only ones. There are plenty more. Sometimes I'm wrong and I miss them out. I always want to know if anyone thinks I've missed out good or bad news. It's been nice because it's been a long time since anyone's accused me of only ever picking bad news. That used to be the most common criticism of my choice of facts. But I would always ask and say, what would you have chosen instead? And I never got a decent answer. So I like to think that I'm pretty reasonable and balanced. Now, before I start rambling and forget that you're here to hear the 5 facts, sorry, I had a really broken night. Those of you with small children will know what it's like, and it just really makes it hard to get your head together in the morning. Here are the headlines of the 5 facts. 15% of London sellers are now selling their homes at a loss. An agent reports well after the fact, when it's too late for many, which is the point I want to make about that. Like, there were people like me a couple of years ago warning that this would happen, and everyone going, no, don't listen to him, he's a doom monger. And now it's reported, well, it's too late for everybody. Fact number 2, this has been my gripe since the start of this channel, is how, for some reason, the mainstream media will not ever use data and do forward-looking analysis. It will only ever report after the fact, but it will also report on people's vested interest predictions, but it won't ever report negative predictions. Frustrates me. Never mind. Fact number 2, and this has got an update to it as well. So fact number 2 is the BBC News website platformed a lending expert's useless predictions of a booming mortgage market. And I complained about this on X and said, there's no actual news here. This is just purely a puff piece from mortgage brokers. And by the way, mortgage brokers are no better at predicting the future than anyone else. But for some reason, a lot of people think, well, if he's a mortgage broker, they must know what's going to happen. No, not the case. They don't have a crystal ball any more than the rest of us do. And shortly after that story came out, like I think a day after that story came out, the Bank of England then reported that actually the lenders themselves, as opposed to the over-optimistic brokers, have forecast to the Bank of England that they are expecting a decline in mortgage applications. They're expecting the opposite of a booming mortgage market. They're expecting a contracting mortgage market. I don't have an opinion on either way yet. All I'm saying is, please remember to watch out for baseless puff pieces that are just PR for an industry, as opposed to reporting data-backed news, okay? Because so many first-timers coming out, you suddenly come out as a first-time buyer, maybe this is the first time, and you start seeing stories like booming mortgage market. You think, oh, we better hurry up, the market's going to boom. And it's all palpable bollocks. Excuse me, it's early in the morning, never mind. Story number 3, London new house building collapses 72% year on year to the lowest since World War II in under a year. There's pretty bad news for Labour's National, and especially bad news for the Mayor of London. Fact number 4, 4 or 5? 5, sorry, that was fact number 4. Fact number 5, and that's what this graph here is. The RACS, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, who does a monthly survey of all of its members, are expecting price falls in all areas of England in the next 3 months, except for the northwest. The only upwards pointing bars on that graph are Wales and Northern Ireland and Scotland. and then the Northwest. But everywhere else, they're actually looking ahead and going, still think prices are going to come down. We'll get into that in a bit more detail. I have two further bonus facts, one on the rental market and one on Nationwide's mortgage announcement yesterday, which I'll get to at the end. But for now, let's say good morning to who we got here. You patient people, I'm sorry for delaying you this morning. Ramble and Root, Andrew Taylor, David Holloway, K Art, Boss Hog. Morning, guys. It's very quiet in the comments. And I'd also like to say hello to all of you who are listening on audio podcasts. Thanks very much. And I know that you guys can't see what's on the screen, so I hope that my description of it is good enough. And Darren Westbury pointing out that the top of the market was the Russian money coming to an end. Certainly didn't help the top of the London market, that's true. Okay, let's get into these. And some of them, so this first one, I covered in a lengthy video on Wednesday night, okay, which is the Daily Mail reporting that London prices are crashing. They've got the proof of it, and some homes that have fallen by as much as 50%. And while that doesn't mean that the entire London market has fallen 50% on average, it doesn't mean that. It does show that all of the people back in 2022 and 23 who said, it's impossible, Charlie, you don't understand, it's just not possible for house prices to fall, for anyone's house prices to fall 35%, you're wrong. It is, actually, and it has, and it continues to do so, and I think the slide continues. And the longer, yes, the slide is taking longer and longer and longer than anyone thought it would, but it is a slide, not a crash. I mean, there are some areas where they have actually crashed in some boroughs, but that's fact number one. Again, as always, links to the source articles for all of these facts are in the description below or the show notes if you're listening on podcast. Wow. I've got a hot off the press ONS latest fact about construction output falling. Now that's fact number one. Okay, fact number two. Again, this is just more terrible news for London homeowners. Same website again. London homeowners more likely to sell at a loss than any others in the UK. And that sparked a lot of conversation this week about, well, it's always London first. Is that going to ripple out to the rest of the UK? In parts, yes, it is, especially the southeast, because everywhere that is within commuting distance of London is effectively connected to the London housing market. So house prices, so you're talking about the whole of the south coast down to Brighton. No, I don't mean down the southwest, but the coast south of London, right? Anywhere within a commuting radius of London. And there isn't a hard border for that. It kind of blurs as you get further and further away. Some people commute from staggering distances. But yeah, that's going to ripple. The southeast will catch the cold from London sneezing. Generally, there will be some local exceptions and variations, and there'll be certain property types. Generally speaking, semi-detached homes, 3-bed semi-detached homes and terraced houses are holding up better than either flats or detached houses in the southeast and in other areas. But this is very much a generalization. Yes, Kicking Mustang reminding us that people said house price falls are just anecdotal. Okay, next up we have this story, which this isn't a fact. It almost shouldn't make it into 5 Fact Friday because there's nothing factual in this article on the BBC website. UK set for a booming mortgage market, say analysts. And actually, it just turns out that they are from Money Facts. So it's a lot of brokers giving comments about how they think it's going to be great, okay? But there's absolutely no basis in there whatever to rely on that there'll be actually a booming mortgage market. And actually, I don't have the link ready to share with you. But if you want to look it up, the Bank of England yesterday published its lenders report. I can't remember the name of the report. had a lot of interesting stuff in it, including rising mortgage defaults. But lenders themselves, not the brokers, not the analysts, the lenders themselves, predicting a decline in demand for first-time mortgages this year. Okay, which is interesting and helpful. I want to get that booming thing off the screen because that's just useless. It's interesting and helpful because it's a surprise. Genuinely, it is a bit of a surprise to me that the lenders are saying that they're expecting a decline in mortgage applications. And I spent a bit of time yesterday thinking about why that might be the case. And, prices are not rising sharply in very many places at all. In most places, prices are flatlining or declining for first-time buyers. There continues to be a steady stream of landlords putting their properties up for sale, and those tends to be typically first-time buyer type properties. So there's a high supply nationally. I know that lots of people go, not where I live, there's nothing where I live, there's nothing affordable where I live. I know that's the experience of some people, but when you look at the national statistics, the overall stock of homes for sale is higher than it's been for 10 or 12 years. Mortgage rates have been creeping down for a little while now, so they're not going up. So house prices aren't running away from first-time buyers. Mortgage rates aren't running away from first-time buyers. There's more supply. So you would think that all the conditions were ripe for a big buying boom. Not a price boom necessarily, but a boom in buying in first-time buyers, because the conditions are better than they've been, and you add all those things together, for a good 10 years. So why are the lenders forecasting a decline? And the only answer I can come up with at the moment is the economy and jobs, unemployment rising, wages flatlining doesn't help, cost of living continuing to increase, even though it's not as fast as it increased before. And if you haven't got a job, you can't get a mortgage, to state the obvious. So with unemployment, we haven't yet seen the budget announced tax rises on employers. So, for example, the steep rise in minimum wage again, which we know for a fact results in fewer people getting employed, because this government and every Labour government doesn't seem to understand simple arithmetic about employers having budgets. And if the cost per employee goes up, the number of employees goes down. It's that simple. So if unemployment is rising, job vacancies are falling, wage growth is running out of steam, and people's confidence. And I've almost lost track of all the things this week, like credit card late payments or credit defaults on credit cards are up, mortgage repossessions are up. We've just had that ONS construction output fallen by 1.1% in 3 months to November, the largest fall since March 23. This paints a very bleak picture for the outlook for employment this year. And for those people with good jobs, the conditions for buying are better than they've been for a while. That doesn't mean that if you buy, prices will go up. That's not what I'm saying at all. A good time to buy means the conditions for the purchase are easier than they've been for quite a long time. It does not mean that prices are going to go up when you buy. And a lot of buyers, first-time buyers especially, think that a good time to buy means people are expecting prices to rise. I don't think that at all. I think prices are going to continue to flatline and slide in most places. Yeah, Kicking Mustang pointing it out there again. Bank of England lenders expect demand for mortgages to fall in Q1. Right, on to the next one. So this is in the Evening Standard: London in grip of worst new homes crisis since Second World War, warns a damning new report. housing shortages leaving many Londoners having to pay sky-high rents or take out big mortgages to buy a property. Actually, just as another sign of how weak the economy is, rents are not. One of the bonus facts I've got at the end of this is recent news from Rightmove on rent increases, and it's not as bad as people thought. Which again just underlines how weak the economy is if the demand for rental homes is going down. So the analysis by the Centre for Policy Studies said fewer new homes were being built in the capital than at any time in the last 80 years. We're aware of that. We know that that's happened. But this is a new study just saying just how bad it is. London rents are still exorbitant. There's no doubt about that. That's true. They aren't coming down in most places, but they're not going up as fast as they were. So whilst it's still a bad situation for renting in London, it's not getting worse. It's stabilizing or starting to get slightly better. But yeah, the new homes building industry is in pretty much a state of collapse. Even though we had Persimmon's results out this week saying that their profits are up. A bit of a delay on those numbers, but they're still selling new homes. They're still, honestly, when you're a first-time buyer buying new homes from the big house builders and you're paying their retail premium prices with all the goodies that they've given you, and you've just kind of got love hearts and pound signs in your eyes about a new house. The number of people who bought new homes last year and who overpaid is very worrying. Very worrying indeed. Right. This is the RACS. There's not much nitty-gritty to get into in the RACS report this month, which is it's a survey of 200 or so RACS surveyors from around the country who are asked a list of questions. The questions are published in this PDF, which you can find in the link below. And this is not measuring prices. It's measuring the swing in opinion of surveyors. Okay, so those blue bars on that chart, those dark purple bars on that chart, are when they're above the line, it means that more are saying up than down. When they're below the line, it means more are saying down than up. It's no more scientific than that. However, it does tend to be, and their price upping or price downing also tends to be one of the more accurate ones. But that graph on the left that you can see there, where you've got the dark line and then the pale blue dotted line, the dark line is their 3-month expectations, and the 12-month line is the dotted line is their 12-month expectations. And as you can see, going back all the way back to 2014, 2013, which is about when Help to Buy started, their 12-month expectations have always been too high. Always. And they don't seem to learn from this. But all I take away from that is that there is a baked-in inherent optimism amongst estate agents that it's always going to get better next year. Always. It's never not going to be better next year. I love that. I mean, I love optimism, but it's blind optimism, absolutely blind optimism. It's going to be great. Next year is going to be great. Yeah, things aren't great this year, but it's going to be great next year. Everything's going to be fine. Why? Don't know. Just think it will be. Right. Okay. Interesting. This is out this morning. I haven't got the link to this below. UK rental prices forecast to rise just 2% as market cools. Average advertised rents in the UK are forecast to rise by 2% in 2026, matching the pace set in 2025 as the rental market transitions from intense competition seen during the pandemic years towards a more balanced state, according to new data released from Rightmove on Thursday. The property portal's quarterly trends report revealed that average asking rents outside London fell by 1.1% during the final 3 months of 2025. A drop of £15 in the average asking rent that marked only the second quarterly decline in 5 years. I think that decline will continue, by the way. London rents also dipped by 0.7% in the quarter, down 20%. Now, averages are of no use to individuals because averages are never average everywhere. But what this tells you is that the national underlying picture in the rental market is weak and weakening. Now, this is good news for tenants, for society as a whole, for people's disposable income. They're still expensive. Rent is still much, much, much too expensive. But the fact that it stopped going up. Now, they're saying that the final quarter of last year saw a drop outside London and a drop in London for rents. Might that just be a seasonal dip? Who knows? But if that's because of economic conditions, I expect that to continue. I think they're still being optimistic, forecasting 2% rises in rents. I think if the economy is bad enough that lenders are forecasting a fall in demand for mortgages, that will also reduce pressure on rents. Speaking of mortgages, bonus fact number 7, last fact, Nationwide cuts mortgage rates to 3.5% as the UK lender wars heat up. Now, there is, and if demand is contracting, this is why there is a real rate war. Now, this has nothing to do with the Bank of England rates. This is purely price cutting as a way to get business, a way to get customers. And it's great news if you're a buyer. It's great news. Is it going to push prices up? No. Why? Because there aren't enough buyers and there are too many properties for sale. But for those who are buying, it means that your mortgage costs are, if you qualify for one of these very low rates, this is adding to what I said about the conditions for buyers being the best conditions for buying for a long time. Yeah, that's good news. I mean, I haven't been able to say that for the last 3 years. Buying conditions are the best that they've been in 10 years, and I suspect that will continue this year because prices are easing, supply is going up, mortgage costs are coming down, but I do not expect prices to go up. Okay? Do not buy a home because you think you're going to make money out of it. And if you do, after watching these videos and seeing this all the data to back it up, if you now buy a home expecting to make money from it, you are making a massive, stupid, idiotic mistake, and you will rue the day at the moment if you think you're going to make money from it. And I know that your entire life, that's all you've ever heard from your parents and from the media and from the news and from the house price indices. But it's changed. It's changed. It's over. The Spectator did an article on this. In fact, that was so good, I want to find it. I'm not going to be able to find it. They called it the quiet house price crash. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, no. Oh, I can't find it. But have a look. It's talking about, you already missed, there has already been a house price crash. It was a quiet, soft one. So yeah, just don't think house prices are going to go up anymore. I mean, if they do, for those of you who own them, that's good news. Just don't expect it. Do not expect it. Right. Do we have any questions? Okay, new follower name here that I don't recognize. Sugar's Pun Sister. Sugar Spun Sister, sorry, he's quite hard. Says, just about to sign up to a mortgage company to sell my house on the South Coast. Do you mean an estate agent? I think you mean estate. Mortgage companies don't sell houses. I think you mean estate agent. Just about to sign up to an estate agent to sell my house on the South Coast. Going to buy a bungalow ready for our retirement. Cool. Got cash to put towards this. Is it better I wait a few months? No, I don't think it's better to wait for a few months because you're selling and buying. So you're kind of hedged against whatever changes are happening. I think on the South Coast, prices are going to be Sorry, I lost connection there again. But when you want to make a move for life reasons, be out viewing. Be out viewing, because when you're out viewing, you will get more intel, more information on what's actually happening with the prices of the properties you're concerned with than any other way. Okay. Go out and view the properties you want to buy. View the ones that are on at too high a price. Just view them anyway, right? Find out. But first and foremost, you should get your house on the market. Do not sign a long sole agency contract. All sellers, please read it. Never sign an estate agent's contract if it's for more than 8 weeks. You want to be looking for a 6 weeks contract with 2 weeks notice. And if it's longer than that, point blank refuse. Say, sorry, I will not go with an agent that wants more than 8 weeks. By the way, I did a survey of a bunch of agents last night in a WhatsApp group about what they thought about this. Is to prove to those of you who think that you've got no choice. You really, really do have a choice. Okay. Sole agency shouldn't be longer than 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, or no lock-in at all. And by far, the vast majority have gone no lock-in at all. Okay. So there are lots and lots of good agents out there that will not make you sign a long sole agency contract. If you sign a long sole agency contract and then the agent doesn't sell your house, you're trapped with them and you can't move to another agent. Don't do it. Sellers, if you're new here and you only want to hear one thing from me, whichever agent you go with, most of them are going to disappoint you. If you're lucky and you get one of the good ones, you'll have a great result. But because most of them are going to disappoint you, that's why you mustn't sign a long sole agency contract. Okay. Me personally, I'd say to someone, you get 4 weeks and then 2 weeks notice after that. Because if I don't have confidence in your ability within 4 weeks, I may not leave you and I may not change, but I want the freedom to change if I want to. Kicking Mustang again says, be greedy when others are fearful. When pain is at its peak is the time to put in the greedy offers on distressed sellers. Once in a lifetime opportunity is not far away now. Yeah. Well, that's a pretty mercenary approach, but I don't disagree with the sentiment. James Hall says, morning, Charlie. I bought a second-hand new build flat for £270,000 in 2022. Ooh, okay, thank God it was second-hand, not actually brand new. 2022 is pretty much the top of the market. My 5-year fix runs until February 27. Service charge and ground rent amount to 1K a year. Do you feel I should look to take to the market before August or September? Are you talking about selling it? James, I have so many other questions I'd need to ask you before I can answer that. Where would you be moving to? Would you be upsizing or downsizing? Do you live there or is it rented? What's your current financial situation? All these different things. If you are worried about your rate going up in 2027, because at the end of 5 years, if you've got 2022 rates are still low, don't get overly swayed by that, right? Because you'll be pushing yourself into selling is expensive. The fees, the cost of moving is expensive. Don't just do your sums, do them properly, work out what the worst case might be, work out what if you had to refinance it today. If there are, I don't know if you're locked in until 2027 on that rate, but talk to your mortgage broker, because you might find that actually, okay, it might put your mortgage payment up slightly now, but you might get to lock in like a 10-year rate now. I don't know. I could be wrong. Talk to your broker. All right. But I can't offer any advice on that. This isn't a financial advice channel, but what I'm saying is don't lose sight of having somewhere that you like living just because of a cost increase. Next question. Raymando, that's not a question. Yep, just looking for more questions here. Exploring Suffolk says, with falling house prices, which they really are in East Anglia, and conveyancing taking 6 months these days, who's going to offer when the house could be worth much less in 6 months? Well, it's a valid question, but generally speaking, when you're making your offer, you should be kind of factoring that and taking that into account. You could also, if you don't want to wait 6 months, you could say, look, this is our offer now. If it takes too long to buy, if it takes 6 months, we reserve the right to revisit that if house prices have fallen further since then. Now, if I was a seller in that scenario, I'd say, look, price it in now. What's the price that you're not going to change no matter what before we get through 6 months of legal costs and then you back out? Another reason why you don't want a bad conveyancer or a bad agent where deals are taking months and months and months. Okay, you want to get a better agent and move more quickly. Grasby, interesting question. Charlie, if you have a large detached house of 6 beds, is it worth splitting it into 2 3-bed semis, bearing in mind the market for large detached is more tricky? It's definitely worth considering if you're selling, and I would be talking to a surveyor and a builder to find out exactly what it would cost to do it, what the planning requirements are, and what an estate agent thinks it would make it worth. Because that's definitely something. If you've got a large detached house that's going to be harder and harder to sell, that might be a way of mitigating the decline or the losses. However, I would say that whilst you'll almost certainly get slightly more money if you do that, do your sums. Whatever the builders quote you, and I'm not exaggerating here, whatever the builders quote you, you must double it for the purposes of your budget. Okay. And if that means it's no longer viable, then don't do it. If it's still viable after you've doubled whatever their quote is, because of what agents think it would be worth, you can look at local 3-bed semi-comparables to see if it works. Just do the sums properly, but that's not a bad idea. Oh, Sugar Spun Sister says, I follow your advice, got a 6-week contract with an agent. Yay, well done. Thank you very much. Adida Monitor says, can a seller sell without an agent if they're no longer under contract, but the agent showed the buyer 5 months ago? So in that scenario, most estate agent contracts have a clause in there that says, if you sell it to a buyer, even after our contract's ended, but a buyer that we introduced, we will still come and get our fee from you. So that agent will still expect their fee if you sell to a buyer that they introduced. I think for up to a year or something. But double check the terms of that you signed. I can't comment without seeing those terms. Double check that. Charlie only question: Would you recommend paying off your mortgage or investing? I know it's different for everyone, but hypothetically, let's assume you can cover the monthly payments. It depends on your investment and risk appetite. Okay, if you're someone who just doesn't understand investing, isn't experienced and doesn't know what they're doing, no, I would not pay off your mortgage. I would just, I wouldn't settle your mortgage to then invest the difference. I would keep. But if you're someone that really knows what you're doing, maybe you've already got a track record of 4 or 5 years of double-digit returns. It's a decision only you can make. Wow. Zara Olibokus, who is a conveyancer, saying, get out of leasehold as quick as you can. Don't forget to factor in service charges. Okay, I'm being asked to guess interest rates again. Where do you think interest rate will be mid next year? Okay, listen, anyone who's making this decision, you cannot base your decision on what people think it's going to be this time next year, whether it's me or anyone else, because nobody knows. Because the things that nobody can comment on is what international or financial shocks may hit the system politically, conflicts, war. So you cannot base your decision as to whether or not to renew your fixed rate sooner or later based on mine or anyone else's opinion of interest rates. The only intelligent way to do it is to compare the numbers of what if I wait until the end of this term and my rates are worse, okay, because they could be. What if what rates are available if I change now and I can fix for longer? What does that look like over the long term? And very quickly, if you are sensitive to your mortgage payments, you will realize that longer term fixes at ordinary or better than ordinary rates are always a more intelligent decision and a better decision if you want certainty than rolling the dice for the risk of maybe getting a slightly lower mortgage rate, but exposing yourself to market shocks. Okay. Everyone, unless you are a crazy gambler, when you're talking about the mortgage payments on your home, should be prioritizing certainty and stability of payment over trying to shave a few extra pounds off your payment. It doesn't make sense, right? Nick says, can an estate agent market a property without an EPC certificate? I've had an offer accepted on a property with an expired certificate. Could this pose any problems on the buying process? They're not supposed to. They are not supposed to market property without an EPC certificate. But what you will need to get a new EPC certificate done before you can exchange, I think. All right, which is, it's not expensive, but the seller should provide it. Okay, right, guys. Thanks very much. Do we have any last minute questions? Profound familiarity. My office have stopped replacing people when they leave. Yep, I have a really, really bad outlook in terms of the jobs market this year. Minimum wage from April, £12.71. Businesses are getting crushed. Correct. Just Jacqueline says, confidence has gone. Several of my bosses are cancelling contracts. It is not looking good for people. It's not looking good for the jobs market, right? It's really not looking good for the jobs market. And that's what worries me. This is a good question. Weando88 on YouTube says, Charlie, I have noticed that Zoopla lets you compare agents with stats for average listing time and percentage achieving list price. Do you trust these stats? Some seem suspect. I generally speaking, Zoopla works hard to get its stats right. However, it suffers from the averages disease like everyone else does. And those stats are not something that I would use as a primary deciding factor on which agent. I would be meeting agents and talking to them and asking the question, what's your strategy, for getting competing buyers? Now, if it came down to, I'm down to two agents, I like them both as much as each other, they're offering me the same terms, the same fee, the same solid contract length, then and only then I might look at that kind of data and go, is there a significant difference? But the problem with average listing time and average achieving of list price is that if you were to look into the numbers and look behind them, what you will find is, let's say the average listing time is 2 months, okay? You will not find that most of their properties are on the market for 2 months. You will find that some of the properties are on the market for 6 months and don't sell, and others are selling at 1 month. And therefore that's why this is not, and you see, the other agent who might also have an average of 2 months might actually consistently be doing it 2 months most of the time. So where one agent is 6 months and 1 month, but it depends which side you fall into as a seller, and the other agent is consistently 2 months across all of its listings, Obviously, the consistent 2 months one is a much better agent, but the averages won't reveal that. And that's why I don't think that those average listing times and average price achieved thing, yeah, the average price achieved, does it specify whether or not that's the average percentage of listing price after reductions or compared to initial listing price? All of these things. So generally speaking, no, that data is not useful. And that's why, by the way, on Best Agent, whilst a lot of that data is there, we have that data, we're not going to be using it as a deciding factor for the public to use to compare agents with. We're going to be going on which agents are asking for long sole agency contracts and which ones aren't. Because that is a cold, hard indicator of an agent's attitude to its customers. Agents who want to sign you for 12 weeks or more have already decided to put your interests below their own. That's why you should never, ever even consider using an agent that is asking for 12 weeks or longer. In fact, I mean, personally, I'd say 8 weeks longer. If an agent asks for 8 weeks, I'd be like, okay, that's borderline, but that doesn't put you into the bad camp. Asking for 12 weeks or more, like all the big corporates do, like Dexter's asks for 12 weeks plus 4, Foxton's asks for 16 weeks plus 4 notice. Connell's is 26 weeks. I mean, Connell's, just shocking as a policy how much it deprioritizes its customers' outcomes over its own as a business. Absolute shock. David Fitzgerald asks, now this is a very important question, and I did a whole video on this some time ago. If the jobs market is bad, is renting better or buying a home if redundancy risk is high? I did a whole video on this because it depends on what kind of person you are. If you are, and this is a very rough generalization, if you're the kind of person who's like, look, even if I lose my job, I will find a way to make my mortgage payments somehow or other. I will get a lodger in. I will start buying and selling stuff on eBay. I will start cleaning windows. I will start washing cars. If you're one of those people that just will always find a way to make your bills, and you'll know if you are or if you're not that kind of person, even if you've never done it before, right? Are you a resourceful person? If that is the case, and you are, then you've got to ask yourself, okay, if we buy a house with a mortgage and then I lose my job, and if I can't keep up those mortgage payments, we're going to lose the house. Is that a risk we're willing to take? And if the answer is yes, then that's what you should do. Buy a house with a mortgage while you can. Perhaps take out redundancy protection. That can be expensive, but that's something a lot of people are doing. And depending on what kind of house it is, maybe you'll find a way. But maybe you're the kind of people who are like, look, we'll buy a house. We're only putting 5% mortgage deposit down. Because of the 12 months forbearance that banks are required to give now, if we can't actually pay our mortgage because we lose our jobs, we get at least a year, if not 2, living in the house without paying a mortgage anyway, which will kind of recoup the deposit we might have saved up. We end up back where we are, back square one, nothing gained, nothing lost. You might have that approach to it. But if you are a family, and if the prospect of losing your job means there's definitely no way you're going to be able to make your mortgage payments, and if therefore the prospect of losing your job and not be able to make mortgage payments and then losing your home is too awful to bear, then it's a different consideration. But the thing is that you're in the same position if you're renting. So this is a personal decision every time. For me personally, not least because in the event you lose your job, you don't have insurance, and you've got either a mortgage payment or rent payment to make. At the moment, the conditions are more favorable for you to be a mortgage payer who can't pay their mortgage. You will have longer in that home. When you're looking at the doomsday scenario, you will have a home for longer because of the forbearance rules than you will if you're paying rent and you stop and you can't pay your rent. So, this is a very uncomfortable discussion to be having, but it's also a discussion that's worthwhile having. Because if you choose not to buy a home now because you're worried about losing your job and therefore having a house repossessed, so you continue to rent and then you lose your job anyway and go, oh my God, we're going to lose our home faster than if we'd bought. See what I mean? So for me, if you are in a position to buy and you want to buy a home and you found one you can afford and you currently have a mortgage and a job, generally speaking, I would lean towards that as the less bad option if you are going to lose your job. It will buy you more time. Your actual payment tends to be lower than rent will be, but you'll obviously have a maintenance payments to make as well. Yeah, that's my answer to that question. Path Walker says, Charlie, do you think the market will continue to be increasingly slow, more favorable for buyers, such that it may be worth waiting a while longer before making serious offers on homes? Never wait. Okay, so Path Walker, you are, I think, a new name here. I don't recognize that name. And if you want a home because you want to live in it and you're in a position to buy one, never ever stop viewing. Okay, be out viewing if you are in a position to buy, because even in a market where maybe it will be increasingly slow and maybe prices will get increasingly softer, you only need one seller to accept your offer, where you go, even factoring all those things in, if that seller sells me this house for this price, I'll buy it now. So it's actually a mistake to wait, even in a declining market. You will miss out on the opportunity to be in a home that you really love sooner rather than later. So I'm not saying rush out and buy, but I'm saying don't wait. Don't put it on pause. Don't stop viewing. Okay. Northeast corner, Chris. Hi, Chris Watkin. I agree with that. Long sole agency agreements are a sign of a poor estate agency. Thanks, mate. Wow, interesting. Chinello Blessed says, I'm a lawyer, but I'm happy to clean when AI takes all our jobs. So living within means is best. I assume that means you're someone that if you were to lose your job as a lawyer, you'd go and do whatever cleaning jobs necessary to make your mortgage payment. XL2828 says, I think you should do a session on mortgage protection. I couldn't possibly do that. That's not my area. But what I could do is I could get someone on as a guest to talk about that. Not a bad idea. Get a qualified person on to talk as a guest, I mean. Kicking Mustang says, Charlie, Keir Starmer terrifies me, and I'm fed up waiting for the inevitable crash. Should I move to the Philippines and retire on a beach? And leaving that question hanging in the air, I'm going to wrap it up and remind everybody that if you're buying, always buy a home if you want to live in it. Just don't overpay and don't expect it to make you money. If it does, great, but don't expect it. If you're a seller, your choice of agent will determine the path your future takes. Choose your agent like your future depends on it, because it does. And absolutely point blank refuse to sign a estate agency contract that's longer than 8 weeks. And don't even consider an estate agent who says that their contract terms are 12 weeks or longer. When you're talking to agents about coming around to your house, ask them on the phone, what are your standard contract length terms? And if they say, don't give them a heads up what you can say. Just say, what are your standard contract length terms? And if they say 12 or more, just say, actually, thanks, don't worry, I'm going to leave it. We collectively have to punish the agents trying to get away with that kind of conduct by refusing to give them our business. Okay? Do not even ask the agent round if they are asking for 12 or more weeks sole agency contract. even if they would negotiate it later. What it tells you is they already have a disdain and a contempt for your circumstances. Sellers, get your conveyancer signed up before you talk to agents for lots of good reasons. Buyers, make sure you've spoken to a broker and got your true financial position known before you start viewing, and have a mortgage in principle. It will give you an advantage when you're offering. Everyone who needs a search pack, but especially buyers, take control of your purchase. Make sure you buy your property search pack. Don't leave it to your conveyancer, even though they say that's part of their service. Just say, no, thank you. I want your service without the search pack because I'm going to buy the search pack. They will get it copied to them automatically, but you then get a copy and you can get advice on it without your conveyancer because your conveyancer can't give you advice on search pack matters. And it also means if you end up with a rubbish, slow conveyancer who goes, oh, whoops, we forgot to order the search pack, and now it's a 12-week wait for the local council search. Oh, no, we've just delayed the transaction time by 3 months. Oh, no, our clients now lost their purchase because we're a crap conveyancer. That's why you should never wait for your conveyancer to order your search pack. You should do it yourself. It also makes your offer more attractive. And thanks to all the new people who signed up to the newsletter yesterday after I posted about it. And hopefully you got that newsletter this morning. mhwc.co.uk/newsletter. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys. Oh, there was one last question about Alaska. Where was it? I didn't want to. I'll just squeeze this in at the end. Where is the Alaska question? Where's the Alaska question? Someone said, because obviously because of my T-shirt, where is your favorite place to go in Alaska? So Talkeetna, because that's where there is an outfit called Alaska Floats and Skis, and it's where you can fly seaplanes around Alaska or planes on skis and go up and land on glaciers, and it's just a bit of a life-changing experience, even just as a tourist, as a passenger, let alone as a seaplane pilot, which I am. That's my hobby. It's been a while, but that is my hobby, and I got to fly seaplanes along rivers just above the river, like for miles and miles and miles, flying along Alaskan rivers, and I went up into the mountain. It was an incredible place. Right, guys, that's it. I'm out of here. Have a good one. See you. Bye, guys. Audrey VW, if you don't understand what's in the search pack, go and look up Charlie, Moving Home with Charlie search pack video, and you'll find it.